Hey folks, it's Nick Granville. Hope you're doing well. So today I thought I'd give you a bit of a method about how to go about learning tunes. It's actually something that I do every time I learn a tune. I use the tune Autumn Leaves as a bit of an example just then, but you could use any tune. And I do this when I'm learning pop songs, blues songs, whatever, it doesn't really matter. First thing I always do is go and learn the melody. That, to me, tells me everything I need to know, at least in terms of where to start. So many times I see students go to the real book, and the first thing they do is they play Autumn Leaves like this. Now, nobody plays Autumn Leaves like that, right? Try and find any recording of anyone actually playing it like that. Nobody good anyway, right? Like, that just doesn't make any sense in terms of how to play that tune. A better idea would be to go, check out some recordings of like famous recordings. For me, one of my favorites is Jim Hall and Ron Carter, I think, from the album called Alone Together. You can see straight away just the way I kind of played that melody. You can tell that I'm hearing something in my head that's singing. Vocal versions are a fantastic way of learning tunes, right? Because with a vocalist, they have to think about the length of tunes and how they phrase very carefully. Because if you think about it, like certain words have certain lengths, right? So that's always my first step. Learn the melody, and then kind of a lot of things will make sense if you start there. Next step is to learn the chords, right? So something like Autumn Leaves, the first chords are 2, 5, 1, 4, and then a minor 2, 5 in G minor. 2, 5, 1. That's with the provision that we're playing it in the key of B flat, right? Or G minor, whichever way you want to look at that. So 2, 5, 1, 4. Then we go to the relative minor key and go 2, 5, 1. Right? So let's start there, right? And the thing I do when I learn chords like that is I want to think about it functionally. I don't go and learn the chords and go, well, that's a C minor followed by an F7 by a B flat. To me, that's just not as useful as thinking functionally. So C minor, I'd rather think of that as the 2 chord, because now it has a relationship. Instead of just being a chord, C minor, well, what does that mean? 2 chord tells me, well, that's the 2 chord of the key and where it's going to go, and it's probably going to go to the 5 chord and then home, right? So I'm thinking about a functional relationship between those chords. So start there, right? Just by learning those chords. And I just learn them on a basic kind of level first, right? Because I want to get the harmony in my head. You can just start with something like this if you like. Right? And then usually what I like to do is kind of expand on that and kind of look at like what are some of the possibilities of those chords, like with better voicing. So instead of just this, maybe the voicing could be this, or like a minor 11. you see there, I've just kind of jazzed it up, if you will, and kind of looked at like what's some possibilities. And I'll do maybe 10 different versions of that, with the idea being that I want to have options so that when I'm in the heat of battle and I'm improvising, that I'm not stuck to playing it one way, because one way is all I've learned, right? Next thing I normally do is like a bit of change running, which is just playing the arpeggios. And I find that super useful because it kind of helps to, again, reinforce the harmony in my mind, but also kind of helps me to sort of see which notes are going to work against each chord and how kind of the relationships of things. So hopefully so far you're seeing that, to me, it's all about the relationships of chords and things and how they fit together. Where are the guide tones? Where are the inner moving voices? Those sorts of questions, right? Because that's what makes things interesting. Now I'm using Autumn Leaves. I do the same thing when I'm learning a pop song. You know, I got a gig this coming week where we're doing a big sports awards thing. There'll be about 1,000 people seated there. The Prime Minister usually comes, all those kinds of things. Full orchestra, choir, and we're doing a set of ABBA. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not a big fan of ABBA, but hey, that's the gig. So Dancing Queen, right? I was looking at it last night, and I was looking at what's the melody note, right? Where do the notes kind of fit against my chords? I learned the guitar part, right, itself, but I want to know, like, what's the melody note at certain points in the chords? Because then it's really important. If I just play... Of course, I won't be playing it on this guitar. But if I just play something like that blindly, I could be supporting the singers well, but I could also be kind of messing things up for them. The better thing for me to do is to kind of look at it and go, well, if I know their note is here, well, I can choose to either put that on the top of my chord, or maybe put another chord tone on the top of my chord that's going to support that note, right? So, because that's one of the things too, if I'm playing with really strong singers, like on this gig, these singers are all, you know, they're top level pros, then they don't need me to support the note. They already know what it is. But if I say I was playing with weaker singers, you know, less kind of competent singers, they may need me to put the top note on the chord to just help them, right? It also just gives me a bit more kind of ammunition to sort of support. And that's really what you're doing when you're playing chords on a gig like that. You're supporting, you're in a supportive role. I know the arranger will give me a bunch of charts that'll be written out, and there'll probably be a mixture of melodic lines when I need to play those. And it'll be chords, but it'll be chords like kind of on a basic level. He'll just say A. He's not going to tell me how to voice the A, but I want to have an understanding about that. Anyway, back to Autumn Leaves. So then I'll do a bit of change running, like I mentioned. Sometimes I transcribe some solos. I used to do a lot of that. These days, most of the time, what I do is I just kind of grab bits and pieces. So I grab kind of the bits and pieces that I want to know from people's solos, rather than whole solos. But I used to do whole solos. I go on a quest to kind of explore it, right? Like I really want to know what the options are. So like this. First three chords of Autumn Leaves, I'll work on going with the tritone substitution on the 5 chord, or even putting a third in the bass on the F7 chord, right? Or maybe even I'll go or anything like that, that's kind of going to see how that relates to the melody and the chord progression and all those sort of things. And I spend quite a bit of time doing this, so maybe... there's something that I'll do, right? And so I'll kind of look at that, and then I try and play it in different sort of ways, right? So I kind of will look at, well, how do I play it as a swing tune? Say I'm going to be playing just duo with a singer. Maybe I'll look at walking bass line. So that's a 4 feel, maybe I'll go into 2. Maybe I'll work on doing it as a Latin tune. Maybe I'll work on it in odd meter. So on and so on. But again, it's this idea of exploration, and I used to feel bad about it when I'd spend time exploring stuff in practice. And I'd think, gee, I should be working on scales, or I should be working on this, that, or whatever. But actually playtime like that, exploration, I think is really important to give yourself that time to do that in your practice. And the whole idea of it is, for me at least, is I want to be as prepared as possible. I don't want to go into a situation and kind of feel like I'm not really sure what's going on here. And the thing is that preparation gives me confidence. Now, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Some people confuse the two. They see someone who's confident and they think there's arrogance. I go into situations confident because I know I've done the work. And that's the thing that people don't see, right? They don't see all that work that's been done. They just see the end result. But there's something cool about that too, that people don't understand all the work that's kind of gone into it. And now, some curveballs are going to be thrown your way. You'll play with people who'll do things that you just beyond what you even thought was possible on that tune sometimes, especially really, really good players. And that's what I find a lot of times with a lot of musicians. They don't spend the time preparing enough. And it's this interesting thing, isn't it? Improvisation. We think improvisation means you make it all up. But in the same way that we speak with words, right? We don't make up words. We string words together that we already know to get our point across. And we've studied the way words kind of link together, nouns, adjectives, these sorts of descriptions of the words themselves, in the same way we should do with music, right? Hey, look, I think I'll leave it there for today, but if you found this useful, please like and subscribe. My name's Nick Granville. As I mentioned, I'm a professional guitar player from Wellington, New Zealand. I do all kinds of stuff, from jazz stuff to funk stuff, a lot of fusion-y kind of things. That's kind of really probably mostly what I do, is fusions of blues, jazz, funk, these sorts of things all mixed together. But yeah, if you like what you've seen, please be cool and like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Cheers.